All right, good evening. We should get started. Is that better? It's on? Okay. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to June 4th, Wilton Town Board meeting. And we have 3 public hearings. Sue, is there anyone listed?
There is not.
So public hearing for proposed amendments to temporary merchant certificates, no one signed up?
No.
Public hearing for proposed local law number 3, BESS moratorium.
We need to open and close that person.
Oh, okay. And does anyone want to speak up at public hearing now for the first item, temporary merchant certificate? Okay.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And does anyone who has not signed up wish to speak on the public hearing on proposed local law number 3, which is a moratorium on battery energy storage systems?
Yeah, like you and Chief of the Wilton Fire Department, so.
Oh, could you come up and speak into the microphone?
So I would support this moratorium, right, for multiple reasons. I don't think these things really need to be built in rural areas, right? Should something happen to these, right, they typically burn for 3 to 5 days, right? That means you're evacuating all these people from their homes, and with a half-mile radius of this thing, potentially up to 5 days. If you do put it in a rural area, we don't have hydrants in those areas, right? Even if we were to have hydrants, you're looking at a minimum of 100,000 gallons of water per day for up to like 5 days. Probably put a serious tax on water equipment. And then again, manpower, right? If I have, volunteer agency, we all have jobs, staffing this for 5 days straight would be, we'd have to have multiple agencies to support suppression of something like this.
And telling you guys, if you guys are answering the call, someone's also covering your stations.
Right.
And beyond. So there's a domino effect.
All right. Request for a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Public hearing number 3 is on proposed building department fee updates. And is there anyone who wants to speak up who didn't have a chance to put their name down? Okay. Requesting,
I'll make a motion to close it.
I'll second that.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, and we can start the regular town board meeting. I'd like to just make an announcement. The Wilton Heritage Society is having their annual Strawberry Social on Sunday, June 21st, which is Father's Day. It's at the Heritage Society Church, which is at the bottom of Parkhurst Road. It's number 5 Parkhurst Road from 1 to 4, and it's one of their main fundraising events, so they asked if we could mention it. And there's flyers out on the table with the details if anyone wants to pick it up. All right. Why don't we take the Pledge of Allegiance?
Great.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll call the meeting to order. Sue, you want to do roll call?
Supervisor Stern,
Present.
Deputy Supervisor Rowan,
Present.
Councilman Keneally,
Here.
Councilwoman Collier,
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here. Do we have to evacuate?
Like there goes 3 minutes. He had someone pegged to be. I see what you did there. Dinner's ready. Dinner's ready. Yep.
Good scam.
That was pretty.
Set for 7:04 and a half.
Yeah, I'll say the pledge and then I'm out of here.
Sue, is there anyone who signed up to speak for public comment?
Yes, Amy McGarity.
Hi, if you could speak right into the microphone.
Sure.
Because the recording, it's much better that way.
I just wanted to address the board, and I think I've spoken with you, Ryan, in the past. and hopefully this is the right place, but I wanted to talk about sidewalks along Northern Pines Road. I see the addition of sidewalks along Maple Ave, which is awesome. I see the planning here for Carr Road, and I see also the bike trails going in, which is great, but we have hundreds of houses in the neighborhoods along Northern Pines Road that are disconnected from all of that, from each other and from all of that. So I think we've spoken in the past that this may be a county road. So I just wanted to talk to the board about what, if anything, can be done. Can we go to the county? What can we do to try to enhance all this that we're working on to try to connect it to all those kids and residents up on Northern Pines?
Definitely agree with you. Something that we're working on, it's just
And sidewalks alone isn't sort of the answer in a road that has a fairly narrow shoulder. It really, to be accessible and enhance safety for bicyclists as well as pedestrians, it would need to be like a multi-use path. And so the cost of those projects is tremendous. So it requires planning studies to even be able to apply for grants, and then it's a long-term process. And it took how many years of planning and granting to get the Carr Road with the roundabouts?
Wow.
So one of the items on the agenda
Right, no, yeah.
is looking at, you know, one proposed route to get a feasibility study that would then position us to apply for grant funding, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. And we chose sort of a big recreation destination. I mean, you sort of have to make choices somehow. But there will be, in the fall edition of the newsletter, the biannual newsletter, there will be a survey specifically asking people which area connections are the most important to you. So we actually get feedback from the public to help guide the decisions, because it is a very long-range planning process, unfortunately.
I mean, I'll say, I think you have a lot of people here that agree with you and would like to see this done as well and are willing to put the time and effort into seeing it.
You may be aware there's a mini park with a fishing station that is along Northern Pines Road that should be opening soon, and that would be another nice feature to be able to either, you know, walk safely or ride a bike to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if anything can be done from like just a residential standpoint to help out, you know, I'm definitely interested in assisting you guys do whatever needs to be done to at least get the, you know, conversation started.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who didn't have a chance to sign up, want to speak in public comment? Okay. Request approval of last month's minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain, I was not here.
Okay, and so we have 4 in favor, 1 abstention, motion passes. The next item, MMB and Company audited financial statements. Maria, do you want to
Sure, thank you.
take the lead on that?
Jennifer Menard is here. She is our senior audit manager from MMB & Co. This is the first year that MMB did our financial statement audit. So I thought it would be a great idea if our auditor would come and, you know, explain a few things, walk us through the financial statements, and take it away. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So I am not going to go through these packets page by page because we would be here all night and nobody wants me to do that, so we will not. As you can see, I have some very technical stickies here to go over the important things that I feel are pertinent within your financial statements. I'm also not going to go through a lot of the numbers within the financial statements, again, because that's a lot of numbers within there, but I also feel that you're getting incredibly accurate information throughout the year based on our audit. So I don't feel that it's necessary to go through a lot of numbers with you. So in the thicker packet, the board has a copy of, within the audit package itself, the only pieces that belong to the auditors are the letters and the audit reports. The rest of it is management's financial statements. We do assist management in compiling those financial statements into the format and content that they are, but all of the information comes from Maria. So Your independent auditor's report, first page, under our opinions, you do have an unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance as your auditors that we can give to you. That's always what you're striving for, is that unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. You can see that there is a correction of an error on page 1 of our independent auditor's report. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through, but there was something that we found that was not reported quite correctly last year, so we did correct that this year. We do have to call that out within the audit report. Management is responsible for preparing the financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States, government auditing standards, and this year with the uniform guidance because you expended more than $1 million of federal dollars. The letter continues on page 2, talks about what our responsibilities are as your auditors, talks about the required supplementary information, which we do not give an opinion on. We do look at that required supplementary information to make sure that it makes sense in relation to the financial statements, but we don't opine on it. Then on page 3, the supplementary information, that's where your schedule of expenditures of federal awards is. We do give an opinion on that. We did a whole separate audit on that, which I know the board is aware of, and that was related to your federal spending. Pages 4 through 10 is management's discussion and analysis. This is really a key component to a government financial statement for a couple of reasons. One, it's the only place within the financial statements that the town can tell your story, and management can tell the story of what the financial picture of the town is. It's also the only place within these financial statements that there is any kind of comparative information. So where you could actually look at last year compared to this year and see variance in the fluctuations. All right, so we're going to skip ahead to page 17. This is where the financial statement footnotes start. So footnote number 1 goes through all of the town's significant accounting policies. So if there was ever something that you were curious how the town records something, that's where you would find that information. On page 24, we start to get into the fund balance classifications. And I think that this is important because there are different classes of fund balance within your financial statements. It's also very important to distinguish that fund balance does not equate to cash in the bank. So fund balance should not be looked at as a piggy bank or as a cash deposit, because that's not what that equates to. But you can see that there's some non-spendable fund balance. That's really your prepaid items and your inventory items, and that's its own class of fund balance. If you go to the next page, you've got some restricted fund balance. So restricted fund balance is money that's really set aside for a very specific purpose. You can see that you've got money set aside for parks, equipment, traffic mitigation, things like that. On page 30, if you were to compare your employee benefits footnote in this year's financial statements compared to last year's financial statements, this is much longer and there's much more substance to this footnote this year. And that was really to make sure that that footnote was in compliance with GASB 101, which was a standard that was implemented last year. On page 31, we've got new accounting standards. So in calendar year 2025, the town did implement GASB standard number 102, which really had no impact to the financial statements. There are some future accounting standards coming up, GASB's 103 through 105. I don't anticipate that 104 or 105 are going to have a substantial impact. GASB number 103 is going to be one that has an impact. That is going to revamp the management discussion and analysis. It's going to add some additional information when it comes to the required supplementary information. You've got to have some notes in there. So that's something that Maria and I will work very closely together with for the next audit. And we'll make sure that you're in full compliance with that standard. That one. On page 33, much like your different types of fund balance, there are certain restrictions, and some of the fund balance that is restricted does equate to an actual bank account. So sometimes there is that correlation. When you've got restricted fund balance, there's often a bank account that goes with that restricted fund balance because it's money literally set aside for something. So this talks about what your restricted cash is for. and that cash is only allowed to be used for those purposes. If you skip ahead to page 49, so this is where we're going to talk about that correction and error that I mentioned when I was going through the auditor's report. So when we were reviewing last year's work papers, because we always look at the predecessor auditor's work papers, and then, as we were going through our audit procedures, there were two things that stood out to us that were reported incorrectly in 2024. So we worked with Maria to correct those items this year. So the first was federal aid revenue. There was some aid revenue that should have been reported in 2024. It was reported in 2025. I know that seems, $11,000 seems like a very small amount. In the fund that was reported in, that was actually a material amount. So we had to make sure that we fixed that. And then the adjustment for compensated absences, there was a portion of leave time that was accrued in your compensated absences last year that actually is something that is paid out through the ERS system upon retirement. So therefore, it's captured under a different GASB standard and shouldn't be included in compensated absences because it is essentially included in your net pension liability under the ERS program. So we made that correction. All kinds of moving parts. We're going to skip ahead to page 56. This is the independent auditor's report on internal control and financial reporting and on compliance and other matters in accordance with government auditing standards. So as your auditors, we are required to look at your internal controls, although we do not give an opinion on your internal controls. However, if we found something that was a problem or something that we felt could be improved with best practices, we would absolutely communicate that information. If we had any sort of findings within our audit, that would be reported here. I'm very happy to report that we had none. It was fantastic. So that was a very easy report. Page 58, this is the independent auditor's report for the uniform guidance. So that is those federal expenditures that were over $1 million this year. Again, you have an unmodified opinion, highest level of assurance that we can provide. That's what you're looking for again there. And then if you page 61, this details out what your federal expenditures were during the year. This is the result of that uniform guidance audit. That's the report that's required to be done for that. So you can see that without those ARPA funds, you wouldn't need a single audit because it's once you expend over $1 million. So I anticipate, right, next year you won't have one?
Well,
You might?
maybe. I might do a price throughout the year because we have the roundabouts that are federally funded, so it's potential.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you expend more than $1 million, again, next year we'll do the same process. And if you don't, then we won't. And we'll just monitor it throughout the year. So that's it for the financial statement packet. And then the other small packet that you have is just a letter. So this is our required communication with governance letter. So this is a standard letter that you should get with every audit. It again goes through what our responsibility is. A lot of the things that we send out say the same things in 5 different places. So this is where we're going to repeat ourselves.
Great.
If you look on page 2 of that letter, at the top, it does talk about that we are required to comply with ethics requirements. We're required to be independent of the town. One of the main threats to our independence is actually financial statement preparation. So we do assist with that. We make sure that we've got safeguards in place internally, and we also have Maria review them before they are accepted and issued. And I can tell you that she reviewed them very thoroughly.
I'm shocked.
Of course. And then on page 3 of this letter, partway down, you'll see that we detailed out what those corrections were that we talked about in the footnotes related to those items from last year. I will tell you that I have done many first-year audits in my 10 years with the firm, and this was probably the smoothest first-year audit I've ever done.
There we go. Maria.
We appreciate Maria and all of her hard work and cooperation, and this audit was done, I think start to finish, it was a month and a half, which for a new client and a single audit involved, that was a feat. So I appreciate your hard work and collaboration, and that was very helpful.
I appreciate yours as well. I have to say, Jennifer and her team are very thorough and have a caliber of expertise in the more complicated standards that I haven't encountered since I worked for the state. So I really appreciate that communication, what's the word, that we had a meeting of the minds, and it was phenomenal. I actually liked it. I really liked it. I liked the project. It was weird, I know.
I don't have many people tell me what they like when I ask them. People don't. Are there any questions for me from the board?
And just a comment, I've been looking at financial statements for 40 years, both on behalf of the town and I was a banker at one time. The depth and breadth of your audit work, as well as the depth and breadth of the work that Maria does, is unmatched.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where am I? Okay. We also have the next item. Oh, sorry. We need a motion is required to accept this report.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item is Wilton Wildlife Preserve and Park contract. Maria, do you want to mention that?
Here we engage with Wilton Wildlife Preserve and Park. There is an arm's length transaction whereby the town gives a grant to Wilton Wildlife Preserve and Park. The typical amount every year is $87,500, and in return the town receives educational services from Wilton Wildlife for our summer camp staff, for residents to come to Camp Saratoga, for many programs that you see when Ms. Margot comes and does her presentation on a quarterly basis. You see how much work that the Wilton Wildlife Preserve does do for our community. So the purpose of the grant is to help fund some of the interns and staff who are the educational staff. That was the whole crux of the grant, is to support the educational component of the organization. So that is just an annual MOU that we have with Wilton Wildlife, and we pay them on a quarterly basis, and sometimes Margot will provide us with information on a different basis, sometimes monthly. She asks, it helps with their cash flow, and that's fine too. It's basically an annual contract for a total sum of money to be paid out over the course of the year. So however she wants to, time that, it's fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Wilton Wildlife Preserve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Maria. Next item, also going to ask you to speak about. It's the New York State Supplemental Right-of-Way Agreement acquisition, and this pertains to the already in process Carr Road, Jones Road connectivity project that involves the two roundabouts at each end of Carr Road, and then a multi-use path from the McGregor Links, then along Carr, and then over to Dorothy Nolan.
Yes, so the project is right now in the right-of-way phase of the initial preliminary design right-of-way component of the total project. We're not quite into construction yet, but as I was saying a little bit earlier, we'll probably be there soon, 2027. So right now we're in the process of receiving information from our consultants for right-of-way acquisition and temporary easement for some of the properties in that surrounding area. So since this is a component of the grant, we know that there is the federal allotment has been already authorized. There's over $242,000 authorized for the right-of-way purpose. This particular New York State supplemental agreement is to help facilitate the state's reimbursement to the town. So in the first instance, the town is paying for the right-of-way, temporary easements, and acquisitions, and then this agreement covers the state's mechanism to refund the town. So that's what this is. So the federal authorization, the money is already set aside in the federal government. This is just how we get reimbursed this particular agreement.
All right, so you're being extra thorough
Yes.
by wanting this.
Yes, I wanted this before I started dispersing public money.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Maria. The next item, I'm going to hand over to Connor to talk about proposed amendments to temporary merchant certificates.
Public hearing. We just need.
Me,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Save it the next one.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. And the next item is the same, the requesting a motion to accept the proposed law number 3 of 2026, the moratorium on the battery energy storage systems.
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And the next item is requesting a motion regarding acceptance of the proposed building department fees, the updates to those fees, and requesting a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Aaron, did you send that?
Was that a second, Aaron?
I think we did 8.
No?
No, we did 8, we did 9, we're at 10.
8, 9, yeah, we're at 10.
Yeah. So we need someone to second the motion?
I will second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
I was reading
Anyone opposed?
this, but that was 7. I was like, that doesn't matter. Because my packet was that, no, that was me.
All right, motion passes unanimously. The next item is requesting a motion for bids for hazardous waste day, which is something that's not been offered for several years in Wilton, and we're going to be doing this in the fall. So
We did receive 2 bids. There's some inconsistencies in both bids, and I'm looking for some clarification from both companies. We haven't put out what their unit, price per unit is, so we're just looking to make sure that a blank means they don't take it, or if it's no charge, or just there are a couple small
I
things.
feel like we went through that last year, too.
Yes, or 5 years ago.
And then it was like pounds versus...
Yes, yeah.
ounces or something.
They were not...
different.
So I was trying
They
to...
weren't like
make-
apples to
Yeah.
apples, so we were trying to figure out
Right.
what one converted into and then how they
I'm sure
compare.
every town has this problem.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I sent the packet out, they were all in the same unit. So it was
Right.
either a pallet, a pail by the pound, so every hazardous waste item had the same thing, and it still didn't work out that well.
They probably had their pre-prepared thing and they just sent it back in.
Yeah.
So do you want us to defer a decision
Yes.
until more clarification can
please.
be made?
Till next
Yes,
month?
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So request to table the
I'll
motion.
make a motion to table. for a month.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, tabling motion passes unanimously. The next item is a request to waive the fees for Gavin Park rental. And it's a fundraiser for the Healing Springs, and it's done by it's
memory of Shelby.
in memory of Shelby Countermine. So they want to do their annual fundraiser in Gavin Park on Saturday, September 19th.
That's a 501c3.
Are you a 501c3? No, no, they're,
Healing Springs is.
Healing Springs is.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
I'll make, go ahead.
You guys are on fire down there. I don't want to slow your roll.
Connor
Keep
and
going.
O'Connor.
That's right.
I'll make a motion to approve the fee waiver for that event.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously to waive the fee. Next item is requesting a motion for funding for MS4 technical and regulatory support services. It's to be compliant with DEC criteria. I'm going to let Ryan explain this a little bit.
Yeah, so this is a new DEC requirement that the structures in the town need to be inspected in year 3. We're in year 3 now to perform this. We're thinking maybe we'd be able to do this, but there's well over 3,000 inspection points that need to be done. And a lot of towns are just going to a consultant. Consultants are hiring junior staff or interns to help with this work. And hopefully it's just a one-time thing this year. And if we'll try to make sure that the prioritization, as they call it, of the inspections is every 5 years. So hopefully we'll have to revisit this for some time. But yeah, it's just it's going to be the stormwater system inventory, mapping updates, and the inspection of everything, and inventory monitoring locations. And then we'll look through all the data and try to prioritize the monitoring locations. It is a significant amount of work that needs to be done. It's a DEC unfunded mandate that's required by every municipality in the MS4. Looking forward to approve this work and move funds, I guess, to get the work done.
Are there I'm sorry. I guess I can look at the controls report. Is the $40,000 in this included in your report as well? Okay.
It will be time.
Okay. I didn't think I saw it.
You had that in your budget?
I had some funds in the budget. We removed a significant amount of funds, I think this year from there, so we always had some stormwater funds carried over year to year, but never used them.
Okay. And you said that is an unfunded mandate? Okay, thank you.
And this would be by end of working year before the snow flies kind of calendar?
Yeah, it's probably going to be 10 to 16 weeks of work. We'll have to coordinate with the highway department, assisting working in the roadway, pulling grates on some of these structures that are in the roadway, so it's quite a bit of work.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the MS4 technical regulatory support services agreement.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ryan. Connor, do you want to do,
Yes.
talk about proposed signs code amendments?
Yes. So, Code and Zoning Revision Committee, we realized in reviewing some of our sign code that we were actually not in compliance with a Supreme Court ruling from 2015, Reed v. Town of Gilbert, Arizona, which essentially ruled that if you have content-based signs in a town that relies on a government official to determine what set of rules apply to any given sign, which is tantamount to government censorship because the government official is determining how to, there's some subjective nature of how to classify any given sign. So any temporary non-commercial signage should all, regardless of content, be held to the same standard within municipal code. What this does is it does exactly that. It, for the most part, takes our existing non-commercial sign code that we have that applies to just general non-commercial temporary signs that are not of a content-based nature and applies those standards across the board. It also has some clarifying language to what you can do is if it's like an event sign versus not an event sign. Because that's not content-based, you can have some certain language that distinguishes, because it's, you know, it's very clear what is an event sign and what is not an event sign. It also strikes, we have a ban on frame and sandwich board signs in town. There are sandwich board signs in town and it's never been a problem. So we determined, especially as we try to rejuvenate our hamlet zone, that it would be appropriate to, you know, allow for this thing that is already being done not being enforced and has never caused a problem to be legal. It also strikes the idea of, we have obscenity. Is it? No, it's not obscenity, it's immorality. right now we have a ban on obscene, pornographic, or immoral signage. We have made it obscene or pornographic because the courts have consistently ruled that morality is, once again, the same type of censorship from a government official. What is moral, what is not, and we're just striking that to be legally tight. That's sign code.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
And this now has nothing to do about size, this is just content.
No, well, there is a size difference because currently the content of different sizes is regulated. The size of different sizes is regulated by content. What this does is it applies in residential zones the current unclassified, temporary, non-commercial sign size to all residential and mixed zones. And there's a different standard for commercial zones. Right now it's 32 feet. That is sort of an outdated temporary commercial sign size. It's updating it to 16 square feet, which is much more common in codes that are implemented nowadays. And because it's temporary sign, it's just not going to impact anything that currently, exists. So nobody has to go out replacing anything.
Okay, and the sign for residential is now 4 square feet? And for temporary signs, the time, the duration that they can be up?
It depends on whether it's an event sign or not an event sign. So if it's not an event sign, we have it, and this is the one, we sent it to our wonderful lawyers, and they came back and they had one concern, which was, well, if a temporary sign can be held in perpetuity, then is it really a temporary sign? And they recommended that we rewrite that to have a 12-month period after which a permit would need to be applied for, because then it applies to our other permanent sign code. Hasn't been rewritten yet, but because it's not a substantial change to what we have here, it is, we can still set a public hearing, but that change will be done between now and then. What was the other question?
So, and the time period for temporary
I want to say it's 45 days.
30? 45 from the date, because this always comes up always with election
From the last day of the event, I think. Performed to be erected no earlier than 45 days prior to the date or event and shall be removed no later than 5 days following the conclusion of the event.
Okay. All right. So, requesting a motion to set a public hearing.
July 2nd at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next item, I'll also let you take it, Connor.
Yes, this is another thing from the committee. Telecommunication tower, structural engineering point setbacks. I know everybody's clamoring to hear more about that. Essentially, the way that a telecommunication tower, there are different types of telecommunication towers. And one type of tower has an engineered breakaway point. That point is if there is something catastrophic that happens to a tower, the tower will essentially break in two, the base will remain secure, and only that top part is going to fall. Now, the point at which it falls, there's a fall radius that we currently have for towers in town, and that is, 100 feet, I believe. I wrote this.
50%.
150%, sorry, I wrote this a while ago. 150%. It is, right now we're updating our code to apply that setback to apply to the height of the engineered breakaway point. Now, that is a very conservative setback, 150%. That is, we reached out to Verizon, reviewed other codes with engineered breakaway point setbacks, and this is definitely, it's physically impossible for a tower to break at an engineered breakaway point and have it hit anything at 150 feet of a setback. So it is like beyond safe. Verizon even had, a little pushback about the size. We've decided to keep it, apply it across the board, just to be extremely conservative. This is something that regularly, because it's a public utility, goes to planning board, and is always given an exemption to the engineered breakaway points. So as we try to update our code, we're really not making a difference in the substance of the setback, but rather the fluidity through which any company trying to build a cell tower can navigate the planning process. We're closing a loophole, right? Yeah, kind of.
And I would think the telecommunication companies could always come before this board to complete their contest. Like if they can test it, they can come here and look for a special permit, but we don't have to necessarily give it. Is that correct?
Well,
We set those parameters just like everything else?
Yeah, they were always, they would come before us, the setback distance for the fault zone was significant.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to meet in those situations, so they would always come and get that relief. So now it just eliminates that process and speeds up the process through,
Right.
Okay. When you said Verizon balked, that's what I was just wondering.
Yeah.
What their opportunity is to come and plead their, obviously they need to plead their argument, but
Yeah,
they have to come before this board, you're
Right.
saying, not the planning board.
Ryan, what would that be? I think they could come before planning board.
Isn't chapter 129 your zoning law?
Yeah, so they wouldn't come before the town.
Yeah, go to the ZBA.
Oh, sorry, technically, yeah,
For the variance,
ZBA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right,
For the variance, but the planning process.
Exactly.
They would need to get bounced to the ZBA in fact.
right,
But this helps lock that up.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing.
July 2nd, 7:01.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion to set a public hearing passed unanimously. Next item, there are about approximately 13 cemeteries in the town of Wilton that have been abandoned, and when cemeteries are abandoned, there's a state law that the town then has the obligation to take care of them. So the Brick Church Cemetery is on Northern Pines Road, not far from where Gaylor Road crosses. Huge white pine tree fell and is kind of perched on top of some stones. Some headstones were broken, and it's a huge tree. It can't be something that our highway department manages. And Mike met with the county, the company that the county has an ongoing contract with, Sears, and they walked, and the kind of work that it would take to remove the one tree requires access from the side, which is somebody's private property, and that person is given permission, but it means partially clearing a trail to get in there, because you can't reach it by driving in the cemetery, you can't reach it from Northern Pines Road. So it's a lot of work to remove one tree, and there's a ton more dead trees and trees that are leaning. And so Mike had the Sears person try and give a once-and-done estimate of what would it take to really clear out the trees surrounding the three sides of the cemetery because of this access issue, so that we're not faced with this again in the future. And that was a lot of trees, and it was a total of $35,000 for about 80 trees of varying sizes. So there was questions of the liability, that they were refusing to release the town of liability for damage or things, and I don't know if, Mike, if you had a chance to talk to them today. So what I'm requesting for the board and would like a discussion is, do we want to set and do a once and done for a large cost and sort of have that cemetery then cleaned up in the future, or do we want to set a more limited fee and say, you know, whether it's Sears or we ever have to put it out to bid, if Sears isn't willing to change their liability statements on their contract. So I'm asking for a discussion on how much do we want to spend here.
Can we get into proposal both ways? a proposal to do everything, and then a proposal for, just this particular tree. And then we can compare and contrast, decide what we want to do.
So I can, but as the pictures I sent to the board in the past, there's several trees that are on town property that are 50, 60 feet in the air.
And there's some huge white pines right next to the one that fell, and they're a major...
Storm, they will come down, but again, there's no way to gain access to that on Northern Pines Road.
Are we trying to avoid the crane that we thought they were going to have to bring in?
It doesn't reach.
Could I ask, is this the same thing we dealt with like 3 or 4 months ago?
Yes, this is
same thing.
Trees that are still down on the headstones in the ground. I sent an email, all the trees are flagged, there's ribbons on them. Feel free to go over and take a look at them all.
Do you think 80 is excessive?
No, I sent the detailed report of all the trees.
I didn't see anything, that's why I'm asking.
Neither did I.
Yeah, they're all marked, they're all ribboned.
Did we get a price other than from Sears, like Adirondack tree?
This is the contract pricing for the tree work.
So the county already has done that bidding, and they're the vendor that is used, at least for this year.
And we have to use them? We can't go to like Adirondack tree surgeons? That's a local, another local
We're not
one?
obligated to go by county contract, it just prevents having to go to bid.
I think it's just nice to, it's kind of nice to have a few bids and compare them and then kind of keep their feet to the fire a little bit.
Right.
What was it?
There's a contract for the trees, we have to use the contract.
What is the downside? So do we not have the flexibility to go to bid?
I think, Maria,
There's a
we
contract
do.
for the trees, we have to use contract.
They go to bid. There's also lesser, it's funny, the bid is structured very differently than it typically is. Typically, the bid goes to the lowest bidder. So in years past, it was Adirondack tree surgeons who, since I've been here, it was always Adirondack tree surgeons. This time around, it went to Sears. Funny, on this contract, Adirondack tree surgeons and then another tree removal company is also listed on the contract as you could use these under the terms of this contract. So absolutely, we could go. Now, you can look at the contract and see that there's a vast difference in cost.
Yeah.
Richard Sears is at $23, Adirondack tree surgeons at $67, something in those ranges. So huge, and I expect that Adirondack tree surgeons is going to come in much, much higher than Richard Sears, much higher. But absolutely worth the effort trying to find, is there maybe a different concept, a different approach, a different way of doing things? Maybe Adirondack tree surgeons has equipment that would allow us not to encroach upon the neighbor's property. So it's not a bad idea to check out.
Is Tom Mullen, he's another local.
He's another local.
Is he listed on that?
He's not listed on that contract.
I'm just curious, it's always nice to have cost comparisons. We're having the conversation, or our residents ask, well, how much did that cost? Be like, well, it cost this much. However, if we went with somebody else, it was going to be this. It's always nice to have that cost comparison so that we're very open about what our expenses were.
What was the cost from Sears, Mike?
35, up no more than
And for how many trees?
80.
This is all the county contract thing.
Yeah.
Right. And why do we think we may be obligated to use that county contract? I don't think we're obligated.
$37
It's an opportunity to not have to go through separate bidding by the town of Wilton.
Correct.
That doesn't make it mandatory.
Correct, you are.
That per tree is a pretty good number.
Right, so it's a time-bound process.
Yes.
Could I ask, what exactly, just so I understand this 100%, is our obligation to maintenance from the state? What does it mean to keep that property maintained?
I don't know, I don't understand the question.
You say that the state so with an abandoned cemetery, we have a state obligation to keep them maintained. What is that maintenance? What is the legal standard for maintenance?
Mike, is it 2 mowings a year? Is that what it is?
I don't think the state set a standard on that. Right.
I thought-
The statute
Yeah.
doesn't specify.
No.
I mean, this particular cemetery, there's some headstones in there, I saw at least 2 where the last burial was 2007. So this is not some historic cemetery. And I spent significant time on the phone today with 2 family members of a set of 4, it's their great-grandparents, so 4 different headstones. So this isn't, sort of a fully defunct cemetery.
That is
These
shocking to
people
me, because
go there.
I thought that cemetery owners also had a fiduciary responsibility to have a perpetuity fund. Is that not true?
there's a whole series apparently of cemeteries that have been abandoned.
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens and dozens.
We maintain 13.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So this 35,000 represents a comprehensive solution for that cemetery and the tree that is down, and then the trees that are threatening,
Town dedicated property.
and the trees that are threatening.
They're on town property. So if somebody's visiting their cemetery and a tree comes down in somebody's car, we're going to put a visitor there, the town owns those trees and the cemetery that we're obligated to maintain, as far as I'm aware, under the statute set forth by the state. So you would try to defend yourself in a court that you didn't want to take care of the trees on your property and the cemetery that you're responsible to take care of.
Right.
That's not my decision. I'm right-of-way, highway roads. The contract that I deal with is with Richard Sears for trees within the road.
So I'll say I would
I
be,
believe you could piggyback off of that contract, continuing on to town dedicated property for federal property. Usually trees within the town right-of-way, they can access with a crane, some equipment. This is a little bit of a separate situation. They cannot put this equipment in the cemetery due to the damage that it would cause to the headstones in there in the burial site.
Are the preponderance of these trees very large trees?
These are very large trees. I took pictures and sent it to the board at the meeting 2 months ago.
I mean, doing the math real quick, it comes down about $400 a tree.
If you think you can get a tree company to come in and pay prevailing wage rate for any cheaper, by all means.
Yeah,
but
well, that's what I'm saying. I've had trees cleared on wooded lots, and, you know, I've paid as much for a large tree, you know, it's $1,000, $1,200.
And the huge dead white pines, which is where the white pine, huge one, fell over into the cemetery, is on a private property. So if we're going in there, accessing someone's property, doing this tree, I think you have to do the other dead white pines that are right along there, and then you're already there, and it's not a totally inactive cemetery. So my personal thoughts would be that it might be worthwhile to do a one and done, but
That was where I was going. My questions are, a less comprehensive solution would be just to clear the trees that are down and hope for the best later.
well, probably not only the down tree, but the few huge white pines that are right in that immediate
Immediately
area
threatening.
that are gonna come down also, because white pines have shallow root systems, blah, blah, blah.
We don't have a formal proposal from Sears yet.
We do.
We do? Okay.
Can we have that sent to us? So we can look at it?
Yeah, but the only issue is in fine print on the bottom, they do not accept any liability for damages. All the liability rests with the town, and that to me is not acceptable. So we're in the process of reaching out to them to say, look, this wording needs to be changed. And I don't know if that's part of why they have a county contract, that they get out of liability and they charge cheaper rates. I don't know.
I mean, if a tree's gonna fall on anybody in the cemetery, it's gonna be through this process. You know?
Is it, do you think it's necessary to do all 80 trees now? Or can we do the ones that are most at risk and then budget out?
Yeah, the best thing I can say is to go look at the trees. They're all ribboned, and then you would see the proximity of where they are to the cemetery, the access that you're going to need to get in there to get them. And there's several trees that are leaning, that are 50, 60 feet up, that are entangled.
Oh, I'm saying, there's 80 trees. Is 80 necessary, or can we even go to 40 and then we budget out over the next couple of years, clearing out the rest of them?
It's a town board decision if you want to decide.
Well, but I'm asking you, because I haven't been over to the cemetery and I haven't seen the contract,
I
if
would
80
say my
trees is
opinion, what the flag
necessary.
to take down. We just took trees down 2 days ago, Maya Drive and Gaylor Road, for $7,000 because they were encroaching in the gentleman's backyard. Again, that was on town property, dedicated land, the buildings and grounds oversaw, took down. Similar situation to this. I can't tell you which
Except
trees
there
are
aren't
going
people
to come
hanging
down,
out in the
not going to come
cemetery.
down, but I can tell you that there are several trees there that are in danger. I met with the tree guy over there, and he said, I will ribbon and flag what I think should come down when we're here and present you the price. I said, go ahead and give me the price on what you think should come down, and what you need to come down to get this cleaned up.
I would,
To me,
All of
it's-
this is beyond the scope of Public Works.
yeah. I would be inclined to move ahead with the entire project, conditioned upon a resolution of the liability issue.
And if the liability issue, if they refuse to address it, then we would have to go out and collect bids from other companies.
I'd agree with Ray.
I agree. I will say also, though, I mean, I don't know what the process looks like for abandoning a cemetery, but it does seem, you know, I have questions that the last burial in the cemetery was 19 years, and then somehow some private entity can pass off a massive, expensive liability to the town. I'd be curious to know who owned that property and what the process was of declaring it abandoned.
First Baptist Church is, whose name is on the tax rolls, but that's apparently the case with a lot of these cemeteries, that the prior church or whatever.
Back to the 1800s, and that original church is burned down.
Correct.
And we also spent last year in the Loudon Road Cemetery, to the tune of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Maria, it was $15,000, $20,000 in tree work.
Yes.
So this is not the first time that we've had issues with the trees in the cemeteries. And the highway assisted with a lot of that contract work to keep that price down, but unfortunately, in this situation, we don't have the equipment to do that.
So I'm going to say, I'm requesting a motion to proceed with the comprehensive scope of work and with Sears under the condition that the liability issues are corrected. And if not, then we will seek other bids.
Correct, to mean that the town is sufficiently protected.
Yes, that's what I mean, sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Okay, the next item, Saratoga County has an economic grant for economic development. It's $8,000. There's no mandatory match that the town has to make. It's not clearly an annual process, but it seems to happen pretty regularly.
It is an annual grant, absolutely, but the match comes into play where the county gives us $8,000, but we have to spend at least $8,000. So the total project would be at least $16,000.
Okay, I wasn't aware, I didn't see that mandated to that it has to be a full 16.
The county has a way of phrasing it as 50/50. So the total project broken down, you know, the town has to spend at least up to the amount that the county's going to give them.
Okay, all right.
It only costs 14.
Right.
We do 7, they do 7.
Yeah.
Scott, does that seem reasonable to do? I'm not going to put you on the spot. The handicap doors at Town Hall, the Senior Center, Gavin Park,
No.
and the Fort?
Just those three.
Just those 3?
Yes, would be covered for that. Right around there. Probably 15 to 16,000 for the 3. I talked to Mike about highway, whether we really need one over there or not, and he was like, you know, if we built a new building, maybe, yeah, put it in, but,
Okay.
but the court, that would be somewhere between probably 11 and 12,000 if they did both exterior doors and the one inside door. But I think we could do one exterior door because they both have ramps, and just put the handicap door, you know, the sign right in the front. We don't have to do both doors. So that would bring the cost down a little bit.
So we're at 16, or around?
We're around
We use the full value of the grant?
Yes, so with Gavin Park, the Senior Center and Town Hall, it would be probably around 15 to 16,000. And the only other thing would be the court.
Which we can visit, maybe with another grant, another time.
I mean, you could. I don't know.
I'll make a motion.
So,
To apply for the grant.
Yeah.
and how many doors are we saying that we want to include in
Are we
this?
going to add the court with the one exterior door and the one interior? So that would be similar to Town Hall, running maybe 8,000 an additional. So we could get all of them done for,
And I'll ask,
for about 24,000.
it's not currently ADA compliant, right?
Correct.
Right, okay, I think,
No,
yeah.
actually, all doors are ADA compliant.
Oh, they are,
Yes, for some reason we
Don't think
did.
that
yeah.
every door is ADA compliant. This is having automatic open, which is a nice thing to have. It doesn't.
Not required.
Doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So ADA compliant does not mean a person in a wheelchair can,
It just means the width of the
Right, you
door.
gotta have.
Access.
With the height of the handle.
On either side, they can open it, come on in. It's got-
so they're not wheelchair accessible even though they're ADA compliant.
No, they are, yeah, they have to be ADA compliant.
You just don't have a push button, and the door automatically opens. That's the only difference.
So a single person in a wheelchair cannot go through these doors that are,
They can't.
how are they gonna wheel with one hand and pull the door open with another?
Notice, I mean,
Same way they do at home.
I'm here to argue about that, but they've done it for years before, the push button ones. The restrooms aren't push button, they get in there, they're all ADA compliant. So,
Okay.
We're just trying to make accessibility.
Better.
Because there's been, it's actually a few times I've been.
There is someone who-
Trying to come in on crutches. There was
Yes.
a gentleman bringing his oxygen tank in.
In a
Waiting for the
snowstorm.
planning department. I mean, what a sweetheart, but we ran out, Scott and I opened the doors for him, so we were like, why do we not have the automatic opener?
And Sue has somebody who several times has come and has made a comment that it's an issue for her.
Yes.
Let's get the court building done too.
Yeah.
Let's just get it all
All
done.
the
Get it all done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So we can put that out to bid for the 4 buildings.
So I'm requesting a motion to use all of our automatic opening door requests to apply for this economic development grant, and that the town will put in for the rest above 8,000.
So move.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. The next topic, the county, Saratoga County Trails Grant, it's a similar thing, it's an annual grant. This grant, though, is for $10,000 and requires at least a 25% match from the town. So we have a proposed project that the Alternative Trails Committee, or the Alternative Transportation Committee, presented here a couple months ago, that enhances bicycle access to Gavin Park. There's this map over there. I don't know if there's any left there for people. So it has a sign at the beginning of Beverly Road, and then when the road enters the park, there will be a couple of painted sharrows on the road, and then similar situation on Lewis Drive, and then within the park, purchasing about 6 bicycle racks. Currently, their bicycle racks are fully utilized by summer camp counselors who bicycle into Gavin Park, so there actually is need even now, before the multi-use path is finished on Carr and Jones Road. So the cost of that project isn't the full $10,000. So we've been thinking about linking that to an additional project that would link together our 2 big in that area recreation destinations, linking through what's coming next year, the multi-use paths. So this would be, but the main linkage that needs a more expensive study goes from Graphite Range Community Forest along Worth Road, then it hits Northern Pines, it turns right, and right at Lakeview Drive is where the multi-use path that's coming would start. So that would be a multi-use path, and it's a big project, and it requires feasibility studies. When you make your applications, they need to see that you've done a fair amount of homework. And we've discussed with one trail planner, and they feel that for about $15,000, they can do a reasonable feasibility project for this. So I would like to link the two projects together as a linkage connector from Graphite Range to Gavin Park, but they're quite different. One is a formal multi-use path, it's a feasibility study. The other is a more small-scale would happen this summer, enhancing bicycle access to Gavin Park. At the town board where that project was presented, there was questions about, is there a liability issue if you put a sign saying bike route begins here and there's no multi-use path there at that time? And we had discussions with our town council, with town council, but also with our town insurance, with Marshall and Sterling, with their lead person, and they felt that there was not a liability issue. So I wanted to bring this to discussion to have the board decide, do we want to apply for the two things together, which would be a total of saying that we would spend up to $21,000 with $10,000 being covered by the grant, or do we want to split the two projects and choose one of them? But I think it's a much stronger project when you have a linkage to two prime recreation destinations, and it links to an already existing path that's going to be there in 2027.
But are we talking the same demographic using Graphite Mountain Range and Gavin Park?
Well, Graphite Range is primarily mountain bike trails, which a lot of kids are doing. So, and it's a very, very popular spot. The parking lot often is pretty full going by there.
Is the state going to put a crosswalk across Route 9 to get to the Graphite?
That would be part of the whole design. Get into that later on.
Yeah.
And with that, never mind.
If the new roundabouts and multi-use paths are not going to be constructed till 2027, do we need to push this feasibility study now, or should we wait to make sure that that project starts?
Well, that project will start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going now because they're...
The 16 bridge was supposed to be 27, now it's 29. Like, it just keeps getting pushed back.
No,
we're in the process of writing checks now to purchase the temporary easements or permanent easements or actual land acquisition, so it's really moving along.
It just takes time. You do the feasibility study, and, it finds your, pros, cons, the hurdles you're gonna have to go through, those kind of things. It just outlines it for you. And also with that, you can use that to further reach out to the public and see if there's public interest with it before you start getting into design. And actually going after grant funds to make this a reality. So this is like the first step. It's just the initial step.
I like the idea of combining the two. And the Graphite Range, I go up there with some frequency. And
Biking or hiking?
I don't like to hurt myself terribly, so I hike. And some of those, I mountain bike too, but some of those trails up there, they're pretty challenging, for me anyway. But, but I typically see just as many, if not more, folks on mountain bikes up there than I see, on foot. So I like the idea of combining the two.
So I like the idea of combining the two as well. The feasibility study, and thank you guys so much for doing this as well. The Alternative Transportation Committee has been meeting regularly, and it's an absolutely critical thing for the town. Feasibility study makes perfect sense to me. I want to make sure that the Jones to Gavin connection is the best use of funding, and that we know that this, given that we're still constructing the multi-use path, is going to be the best possible iteration of the linkage. And do we know that that's the case?
The Gavin Park portion of the program is a small-scale thing, which is minimal signage, some share the road stencils. And the bulk of it really is that we get some bike racks with this grant.
How many, like 6, is it?
6.
We're going for?
Because currently there's 2 at Gavin Park, and the camp
By the splash
counselors
pad, and they're
fill it
used by the staff.
in the summer.
Right. And 6 bike racks, what is a bike rack, like 350?
Tops.
On the market?
250 to 350.
350. Okay.
But in speaking with Ross McNeil, he was very positive about it. They would be happy to accept them, put them together, and put them out where they think, because our question, would you be interested? Yes.
Yeah.
Would you willing to put them out? And you choose the place. And they said, yes, that'd be fine. John King, their maintenance head, was there and agreed. Right. They have the 2 bike racks that have lasted for 20 years.
Right. No, we need more bike racks.
Some nice cash. So for this small annual county trail grant, we get that, and we did a little bit of signage within Gavin Park as a public awareness and education effort.
Right.
And then in anticipation of next year's actual multi-use paths.
And then just remind me, for that element, in anticipation of the multi-use paths, what is the total cost of the county and the town?
75, 25, and
county 75, right?
Yeah. So it's the town's 25.
Right.
County 75, and the proposal budget is 9,050, I think.
We cut it down.
you changed it.
We
You
trimmed
scaled it back.
Yeah, we scaled it back to about 6,000.
For just the materials alone, it's $6,145.
6,145. That's total. That's not for the town.
That would be materials, yes, for the town.
For the town.
And town share would be in kind.
Well, that's the...
With combined, talking,
So this is about a $30,000 project, roughly? No, if the town share is 6,100.
Is this,
Oh, 18, no, sorry. 24,000?
is this project back to putting the sharrows and stuff in the road that we discussed a couple months ago?
On Gavin Park Road, not on Beverly, because when it's in a town road, Mike, right, by law, they have to be placed every 250 feet, and that makes the cost just
Got it.
prohibitive.
Okay.
In Gavin Park.
And it's probably only going to be a couple.
Only
Right.
Gavin Park. We know how I felt about Beverly being marked for those multi-use paths, so I was not going to sign on for that.
And the green on Beverly is bike route, and that's going to be, how is the bike route? It's just going to be signage?
Yeah.
And that's after the multi-use paths going and the roundabouts?
No, that would happen at the same time, and that was the issue that we raised with not only town council, but also our town insurance, and they felt that it was not an increased liability issue, given that there would be signage and not yet the connecting multi-use path that you would access it with.
Why would we use Beverly and not Lorien? Which exits by the crosswalk closest to Dorothy Nolan, coming across from the trailer park.
Because it's a natural entrance right into the gate at Gavin.
Okay. My concern is the intersection of Carr Road and Jones on that bend, and kids crossing the street with cars whipping around that.
We'll have the roundabout, though, when this actually happens.
Park, you're saying?
Well, no, I'm just saying, again, my concern, it's not even I don't really care what the insurance company says. We're inviting children to cross a road that we know is dangerous and is why we're putting the roundabouts and the multi-use access path in. The roundabouts will slow cars down. My concern is then inviting them into there before that happens.
Yeah.
If we moved it down to Lorien, there's a reduction in speed because we're in front of Dorothy Nolan. There's a sidewalk that is in front of Dorothy Nolan, and there's also a crosswalk across Jones Road that connects the mobile home to that mobile home park, to that sidewalk to enter Gavin Park. And there's much more sight distance.
Yeah.
So that's my thought more on Lorien and Beverly, and then we can always move the bike path to Beverly
once the roundabout goes in.
Yes.
My concern is how quick people, we all know, we all live here and we're all on Jones Road, come around that bend. Either direction. Go around that bend when Gavin Park is letting out for baseball.
Right.
Or trying to get in. It's the mother part of me, I can't.
I think that's a
Before that
perfectly
roundabout
good idea.
Yeah, and I really don't care what the big Gavin Park sign is.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, if people know, because if you're designating
Stop,
something, you're
start,
designating
yeah.
something, and there's a reason for that. That's why I bring up, have we confirmed that this is the best possible route? And it sounds like Lorianne might have some advantages.
For now.
For now, exactly, for now.
And then.
Because if it's just signs.
Beverly will be.
Because the Sharrows won't go on either
Exactly.
Lorianne or
Roundabout
Beverly.
will connect them.
They'll go.
Well,
It'll.
did I miss something, or are there no markings on Beverly Street or Lorianne?
There would not be.
Until the multi-use path and the roundabouts are all done.
There would
missing
be,
something here?
a sign designating bike route at the entrance to Lorianne or Beverly.
Okay, gotcha.
Because that would probably even maybe eliminate some liability now, because the reality is that kids are biking in this area, and if we invite them in a way that's not, ideal, but maybe better than if they currently take Beverly, there's a safety advantage to that.
Yeah.
Or do we not have to sign it? Just leave it how it has been.
And put the Sharrows in
Gavin
the,
Park are already riding their bike at Gavin Park. Popping up a sign with a bike route isn't changing that.
Yeah.
It's also not inviting.
Put the Sherrills in the park as a demonstration project, and then leave signage for when the rest of the route is done. I like that idea, Erin.
Feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Or sticking the sign at Lorianne, if putting up a sign with the bike route is part of the grant, stick it on Lorianne to start.
and then move it over.
And then move it.
To Beverly, or add another one to Beverly.
Yeah, they could both be bike routes.
I'm also very curious what the residents of Gavin Park, that neighborhood, are going to, what their opinions are on us flowing traffic through their neighborhood.
We have a huge Gavin's Park sign. I think it's going through.
The gang.
Yeah.
Kids on a bike.
Right.
I see a lot of kids actually riding the electric scooters down Jones Road.
Oh, yeah.
It scares
They're the thing now.
the
Right.
crap out of me, but they're not, some of them don't even have helmets on, and they're going from the road and then up to the grass around the car, and
Yesterday I was driving down Lake Avenue in Saratoga Springs, going the speed limit, 30 miles an hour or so, and a kid on one of those bikes passed me going about 40.
But this
And he almost hit me.
An e-bike.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming on Congress.
Strike that 30 from the record.
Zoning and
No,
code
we're already
revision.
chatting about it.
they're not even legal on town roads.
It's a complicated issue. So,
For another time.
No signage, just Sherrills?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think the county trails grant is specifically to encourage alternate transportation bike
so we could put signage on Lorianne.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's.
And then,
Oh, so signage, yeah, okay.
I mean,
Sign on Lorianne.
Same plan, just
So
make
coming on
the
the
coming in.
sidewalk from Dorothy Nolan, it could say bike route.
This way.
That way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great idea. It gets away from that problematic until we have a roundabout.
Yeah.
okay, so the cost doesn't really change.
let me ask. So it sounds to me like we could use a broad, comprehensive alternative transportation plan that is ideally forthcoming. What I like about signage is that it's modular. You put some signs on Lorianne, you get the trails grant, and if we decide down the line that they should be moved or would be better, better serve the town elsewhere, we have that locked in and we secured it at a major discount. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So, as we pursue this project as a demonstration, I would certainly feel most comfortable, and I think it would be the best use of town funds, to do it in a way that is modular.
Can you explain that?
You can uproot a sign and move it.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
But you can't do that if you put something like in,
Oh, yeah.
We're not building any structures.
Right, exactly.
I mean, we'll be adding a signpost, but.
Yeah, pull it out of the ground.
Right.
Someplace else. Yep, agreed.
Well, and a Shero, because I don't know really, how a Shero works, but it's one of these?
And a bicycle.
Chevron with a profile of bicycle.
Right. And are there modular versions of that? No?
It's being painted on the...
It's being painted. Oh, it's being painted on the asphalt.
Meaning that they're not forever either.
Right.
You could say like 3 years, then we'll paint them.
Paint, we'd have to do every year.
But those are
Yeah, we do
going
every
to
year.
Gavin Parks.
Is there a big advantage to that over signage purely? Over like if we were to just do, instead of having like a liability that has to require maintenance every year to simply use signage? Is there because I don't know how this all works.
Looking for a response?
Yeah.
I wasn't signed up to speak, but I can speak to that. The Shero is an urban symbol, and it turns out there's very expensive and rural applications. Its main application is in low speed, and the speed limit within Gavin Park is 15 miles an hour. And that's where it's best applied. It also highlights the presence of bicycle infrastructure. It may not force compliance with someone, but it highlights it so that they're more aware.
Right.
So it is a educational advantage because Gavin Park is the center of the town and gets the most traffic from town residents.
Right. And
That's why Cheryl would be a benefit, and that's why we looked at centering on Gavin Park.
Right. And then, we see it leave Lewis Drive, and is the idea, just looking down the line, if we continue to be able to invest in bicycling infrastructure, would we have it do that because we would hope to have something on Smith Bridge? Is there like a...
Possibly, but the other issue that Steve pointed out is this curve on Jones Road, from here to here, so where it leaves Carr, curves around, and by the time it gets to Lewis, there is like, Steve, correct me, there is no shoulder.
No shoulder.
And then south of Lewis, there's a little bit of shoulder, so to be able to bypass this dangerous no shoulder area, people would come up Jones, scooch in here, and then continue, they would cut through the park.
Yeah. And then what Lewis Drive would also just be signs.
Right, because it's not in Gavin Park.
Right.
Can you describe what your hesitation is?
No, I don't have a hesitation, I'm just thinking about interconnection.
We also have to be careful south of Lewis, the train.
I'm sorry?
The train overpass. You have to get permission from CP rep.
I mean, ideally, the big major multi-use path foci would be this Worth Road one, then Jones Road to the end of the town, and then Northern Pines Road from the Stewarts all the way up to Ballard Road. That's a huge stretch. Jones Road has a train trestle. It gets very, very complicated. It's a narrow thing that you almost tunnel through, so we chose this as really being the biggest bang for the buck, and there's a lot of interest.
I think it makes perfect sense.
And there's a huge neighborhood here, a huge neighborhood here.
Right.
It connects.
Then you're almost at the Hamlet.
Right.
At 9.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think my only concern is, well, and I agree, Lorianne is better. I have no issues with signage on Lewis. I have no issues with signage on Lorianne. My only question is if Sheros within Gavin Park are providing a benefit above signage that is appropriate for the cost of perpetual maintenance.
I think at this point, we're not talking about perpetual maintenance because the cost is not insignificant. It's more raise.
A year. Initial. And then what is it after that?
The Sherrills are a stencil, which are
Right.
100, and the painting is 2,400, so that's probably an inflated number.
But then you said they have to be repainted every year.
Because we had to buy the stencils for the paint, we don't have those stencils.
Right.
So the initial cost for the stencils, why that?
Yeah, 900. According to Steve's chart here with fees.
But Steve, you didn't envision, your committee didn't envision ongoing maintenance of the Sharrows in perpetuity.
No, the intent of the Sherrills was to bring the presence of bicycle infrastructure to the attention of the town residents. If you want in perpetuity, the options then are more permanent, which are not stenciled and painted, but they are much more expensive. Mike, you spoke of having these 3M stickers that go on, which are much more long-lived, but the purpose of identifying this as bicycle infrastructure to bring the residents of the town up to speed, then the lower cost option, again, being even a temporary solution.
Totally.
You know, if it turns out that it's unwise, that if we don't pay them, they disappear.
Yeah, makes sense. And then, when would this go in?
The hope is for this season.
Right, okay.
That's up to the highway.
And that path would bring in the kids.
So action to be taken is to apply for the county trails grant.
With this two connector systems,
Yes.
But understanding that the total cost would be, of the project would be approximately $21,000 and the grant would cover 10 of it.
Yep.
So it's sort of asking permission from the board to be looking at covering that amount.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, committee reports.
Did we settle on Lorianne?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the motion. Great.
Committee reports. Ray, do you have, I'm just going to go down the row.
Let's see, Mike and I and gentleman from, what's the gentleman's name from?
Doug,
Doug Heller. We're out at the site, where the fishing pier is, looking at the work that Mike will be doing out there and culverts and everything else. So we're almost ready to rock and roll on that. And I think that's all I got.
And that's going to go in sometime soon? Didn't it have to dry out a little bit in there or something? Or it's enough?
Yeah, next couple weeks we're in.
Okay, so an opening maybe July sometime?
Perhaps, yeah.
Or August?
Depending on the weather and all that kind of stuff, yeah. But hopefully, yes.
Lovely.
Okay. Connor, do you have anything you
Code and
want?
zoning, we have a meeting on Monday. We have presentations from a comprehensive plan working group that is going to discuss, they did a little gap analysis between what is currently in our comp plan and what our code and zoning looks like to figure out opportunities for us to rectify those two things. Same thing for a Hamlet zone working group. They have a gap analysis. We're going to talk about, from my understanding, based on the conversation I had this month, just like, what do we want? How should this Hamlet zone actually look? We have what's in the comp plan, but to build it out and make it thorough to match our code and zoning, we have some more thinking to do. And then Eric was going to discuss BESS with us. Very exciting. And we have a first draft of a comprehensive lighting code. So we started talking about it last month. We didn't get through it. We had some changes. They were made. I'm going to revisit it this month, and hopefully we'll have something to refer to town board for next month's meeting, set a public hearing, but we may run out of time. And we have a septic code that needs more work, but we're going to start talking about it if we have time.
Okay, great, thank you. Joe, anything for?
Well, you know what the Alternate Transportation Committee's been up to, I think.
Yeah.
Saying more about that. The Emergency Services Planning Committee met briefly at the Emergency Services Facility, but most of the members were busy answering an emergency on the highway.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty small group, but Eric was kind enough to show up, and this kind of goes back to our new town law on the moratorium on BES, which everyone in that group is in favor of, that putting a moratorium is the appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
But the other hard part that Eric was able to explain, and you know about it well too, I think, Connor, is that the technology is advancing so rapidly that the concerns they have now of runaway fires or fires that you can't put out, that you just have to stand there and monitor them while they burn themselves out, may change soon over time, but we don't know. So the moratorium we have now allows us to see how the technology develops, and as we make a more comprehensive, future-looking change to the code, change our local laws, and again, the local laws would potentially be pending any overriding state law, which I guess is in flux as well. But the emergency services members are happy about the moratorium. I think it's a very good thing to do. Gives the town some breathing space, because I think we might be vulnerable because we have so much open land. If you think of the far side of Northway, not a lot of homes there, plenty empty land. So some developers said, okay, and it's an arbitrage thing. Okay, how do you make money in this? Well, you charge up the batteries at night and you sell the electricity in the daytime. And there's the arbitrage. That's how they make the money. Okay, it's a thing. But it's a big thing, and it's a big capital-intensive thing. So I'm glad we have the moratorium. The thing that we're going to work on next, our next monthly meeting, which will come to you, and I want to talk with you, or have you join us or something, is they have been working on, last year, a revision of the nuisance alarm code, because it's an issue. It's an issue.
Meaning fire alarms in commercial structures?
And medical response alarms. So it's an issue for commercial. It's also an issue for the EMTs, the ambulance crew. That often one person will have an issue over and over and over again with, the alarm bracelet or your arm, that kind of thing. So anyway, there's an existing way to address it, and they've worked on it, and we're going to work more on that and then bring potential revisions to you.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. Erin?
Perfect, yeah. Pickleball court concrete was poured the other day. They're moving a little slower than expected, but they are moving forward. Ross did not know when the next phase would be completed, but we're keeping an eye on that. We had a commission meeting Monday, and we brought in some of the major players.
Parks and Rec Commission.
Park and Recs Commission. From baseball, softball, Wilton Youth Soccer came. The pickleball and basketball folks did not. Number one issue is parking. Bathrooms, running bathrooms, not with porta potties that are spread out, and concession. It's still always an educational part. Even the gentleman that came in search of Wilton Youth Baseball, they were talking about crossing the road from the back fields, but again, that's school district. So reminding people that everything beyond the tree line is not actual town of Wilton property. So we've got to keep everything kind of on our parcel. So we're still working on our master plan, moving forward, and just trying to gather information, which will also help with the newsletter to the town that came out with some questions and polling from the community. And we continue to work on our veteran flags.
Awesome.
So that's the one questionnaire that's going to be in the issue that should be coming out in about 10 days most, maybe even a week, hit every door. And it will have a questionnaire on, for both children and adults, usage at Gavin Park, what are your desires and needs? So we would encourage people to please fill that out. You can fill it out by hand, cut it out and mail it, or you can do a QR code and do it online. And coming in the fall edition will be another series of different questionnaires, one about alternative transportation access and also sort of visions for commercial zone, hamlet zone, things like that. Okay, thank you.
Can I mention one more thing? Councilman Keneally and I attended the topping ceremony for the new BOCES facility up here on North Road Wednesday morning. Really nice event, whole bunch of BOCES students there, as well as the superintendents from the surrounding school districts, and I'll tell you, they're making a lot of progress in a hurry over there.
They better. They got to open September 27th.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
Exactly.
Hard stop.
The kids will be there.
Yeah. Buses will pull up.
But I mean, it's just an extraordinary asset, for the entire region, but especially to be able to host it in our town is pretty cool.
All right, thank you. Maria, Comptroller's report.
Yes, thank you. So our first category is the 2026 budget transfers, and the first item is to increase budget for the Pep Fest by $5,000 to cover anticipated shortfall. The original budget was $35,000. We think we need another $5,000 to finish off for banners and T-shirts and I believe hats. So that's $5,000 that will come from our contingent account, which is our discretionary money that we set aside every budget season for these types of expenses that are not anticipated. So that's the first item. I do have a second item based on the fact that we just passed the MS4 proposed contract, and that's $40,000. And that sometimes with these contracts, that's an estimated amount, and there's incidental costs. So I might have to revisit that as we go through the process. But for now, I'll budget out for 40.
It's not to exceed.
Right. Okay. Good. So 40 should be good. So I'm going to take the money from 4 different areas, and I'm going to account for it all in the engineers line. So currently, the engineers line has $10,000 set aside in the, I forget the verbiage, but it's for an intern that was going to potentially be hired for this very reason, to look at the stormwater drainage. So that was $10,000 that we're not going to spend on an intern doing the work, we're going to put it toward the consultant doing the work. So that's the first component. The second component of another $10,000 is money that we have in planning in minor equipment, and I'll move it to the professional fees in the engineers line. That's $10,000. I have a drainage facility, $10,000, that I will move to the engineers line for the professional fees, and the final $10,000 will come from our contingent account. So that will cover the entirety of the $40,000 expenditure for the engineers fees.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget transfers, the one listed and the one just described by our controller.
Second. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And just as an aside, next month I'll include the $21,000 for the county trails project, because that would be spend it first and apply for reimbursement after we spend it. So the second one is our budget amendments, and these 2 lines are related, and they're both in connection with the right-of-way easement, the temporary easements, and the purchase. So this is $31,500 for the second of what I anticipate might be 3 groupings in total. Our MJ consultant, Megan, is providing us with the people to whom we need to write the checks. So we have a series of 6 checks now that will total about $100,000, and again, related to that $242,000 that was apportioned by the federal government. So this is, now we're at the halfway mark, basically, with all of the checks that we're writing so far. So those are our budget amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion to accept those budget amendments passed unanimously.
Thank you. The next item is personnel. We have a procurement policy that outlines the department heads who have the authority to enter into contracts or agreements with vendors, basically to make purchases on behalf of the town.
And currently, our buildings maintenance department is Scott Harrington. Scott being out on vacation until his planned retirement in July, not able to make those agreements or do those purchasing activities.
And he's grinning like a Cheshire cat there in the back.
So Roy Vanderbilt will be assuming that responsibility, so I'd like to update the procurement policy to reflect that. Roy will be doing that. The second item under personnel is Marcus Hart, who's our building inspector. He has submitted his letter of resignation from the position of building inspector effective June 12th. The third item is Melissa.
Can we wipe our tears and say,
If no
oh.
one makes a motion to approve that, is he like locked in to stay? Is that how that works?
Yes. Motion to not accept.
Right.
Motion to deny.
The next item is Melissa Strong, who's our senior clerk and department head for the Justice Courts, is requesting an increase in the petty cash that's held by the two account clerks. Currently, it's $50 each. She'd like to increase it to $100 each because when people come in to pay their fines and they need change, it's not always easy to make the change with the $50.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have to say, I'll go to Stewart's and come back, or just come back next time. So this will be a better process.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Nicole Monroe, who's our sole assessor, is requesting that she and Michelle Keys, who is the assessment clerk, attend the annual Cornell Seminar on Professional Development from July 19th through the 24th. It takes place in Ithaca and requires board approval for the overnight travel. So those are our full personnel items.
I'll make a motion to approve all four. Minus B.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. The next item is we need to go into executive session, and this will not be a 5-minute executive session, so if people, but the meeting will resume after executive session, so if you really want to stay to the very, very end, maybe go run to Stewart's and get something. So I'm requesting a motion to enter into executive session, and I'm going to list the whole realm of reasons why, and it's for either medical, financial credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person and corporation, and/or discussions regarding anything dealing with litigation. So, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And we're going to be in the conference room. No, go ahead. In the conference room. And Mark, can you join us?